Why do politicians make decisions that seem short-sighted or self-serving? Rational choice theory, here on the micro-level theories, offers an answer. Incentives rule politics. Not idealism, not public good, but self-interest. If you've ever wondered why governments overspend, why policies favor short-term gains, or why bureaucracy seems inefficient, this theory breaks it down. I'm Professor Hellstrom, and this video is a quick introduction to how rational choice theory can explain political decision-making. And this is at the micro-level end of the spectrum that we talked about in the previous video. One of the most influential micro-level theories, rational choice theory, assumes that decision makers act in their own best interest, weighing pros and cons to maximize their personal benefits, not necessarily the public good. This theory is also known as public choice theory. For example, a head of government choosing between policy A, long-term benefits for the country but minimal short-term political gain, and policy B, a quick boost in popularity before an election but long-term harm, will, according to this theory, pick policy B, because staying in power outweighs future consequences. So the primary motivation is self-interest, and you're making calculated analysis of costs and benefits when you're making choices, prioritizing the personal gain over the overall public interests. Politicians choose their options that maximize their benefits in the short term, even at potential long-term costs. A real-world example, rational choice theory would explain David Cameron's decision to call the 2016 Brexit referendum by arguing that he personally opposed Brexit, but he called the vote to appease Eurosceptics in his party and secure his own re-election. In the short term, it worked. He won. But the long-term consequences were disastrous. Economic uncertainty, deep political divisions, and years of instability. Yet, from a rational choice perspective, his decision makes perfect sense for him personally. He chose the option that maximized his immediate political benefit, even if it led to serious long-term risks for the country. A powerful application of rational choice theory is Milton Friedman's 4 ways to spend money, which explains why inefficiencies occur in politics and business. The key insight? Who pays and who benefits determines how carefully money is spent. If you're spending your own money on yourself, you're going to be most careful. If you're spending your own money on someone else, you're going to be slightly less cost effective. Maybe you're buying someone a gift and it might not be optimal for the person who gets the gift. If you're spending someone else's money on yourself, then you're going to maximize your own benefit, because why not? You don't have to be cost conscious. So if nobody's actually holding you accountable for that cost, you're going to get away with a little bit of stuff. Someone else's money, if you're spending someone else's money on someone else, that's the least efficient way of spending things. And that's how government spending taxpayer funds works. In this case, the politician or the bureaucrat is going to spend taxpayers' money on another taxpayer. And it doesn't have to work terribly well as long as it looks good for the voters and the politician gets a new term after an election, or the bureaucrat gets a promotion because they pleased the politician. This would explain why government programs, some corporate budgets, and bureaucratic spending often seems inefficient. Those making decisions are spending other people's money with little incentive to minimize waste. Now, rational choice and public choice theory obviously has its critics. It assumes that people always act rationally with full information, ignoring factors like altruism, ideology, or emotions. It also underestimates institutional safeguards, transparency, and public accountability, which can improve decision-making. Still, Rational choice theory became so popular among political scientists in the 1980s and beyond that it dominated the discipline, at least at American universities, which have about 50% of the entire world's political scientists. At least it used to. And it shaped it so profoundly that rational choice theory even inspired the classic British sitcom Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister from the 1980s. If you haven't watched them, add them to your watch list because they're actually a brilliant and hilarious application of this theory that show a certain level of authenticity. I definitely recommend it for even studying purposes. Make it a part of your political science curriculum to study that show. In summary, rational choice theory, good at explaining the importance of incentives and self-interest in public, bad at accounting for altruism, ideology, or decisions based on emotions. If you found this video helpful,